Lauren, welcome to the podcast. Finally, good to have you.
Brian, thank you so much for having me. And may I first start off by saying congratulations on 8 years and over 500 episodes. I did
Thank you.
47. You have smoked me, sir.
Well, it's not a competition. Kudos for 47. Most people don't make it by three, so you've done well. Just to test the waters, I think anyone should try podcasting to see if they like it, and whatever their format is, they want to do interview, solo, short, long form. They can figure it out. So, thank you. Yeah, it's good to have you.
So,
I know. When did we connect? Has it been a year already? I think we connected probably.
yeah, you connected right before I blew my whole life up. For anyone listening, that would mean I had started a company and I was living in a suburb of New Hampshire and decided it wasn't good enough. But we connected right around that time. I think you had Liam Darmody on your podcast, and Liam and I
Yeah,
had met, and he was one of the 47 guests I had on my
yeah.
podcast. So LinkedIn makes the world a little smaller and sweeter. So yeah, it's been I think over a year now.
Yeah. Well, and we've connected a handful of times just to talk about life and business, and we've
Yeah.
kind of had some connections there. And I am impressed just how you did blow up your life. Like you were doing well, you were making a shit ton of money, and like you were living the ideal life, right? Big house, cars, nice neighborhood, and then just decided to blow it up. So I want to get into that a little bit more. I'm going to leave it in suspense because I do want to get into it because I think it's helpful for a lot of folks as they think through the next chapter in their life, their career, etc. You describe yourself because you've transitioned into coaching, and you describe yourself this as a no BS success coach. What does that mean? Because there's so many coaches out there. What does
I
that mean
know.
specifically? If someone listening in,
Yeah, well, we are a dime a dozen, but there's only one of me, I think, is what Tigger said.
yeah,
Uh, the no BS is that I see a lot of people touting programs, strict 5 steps to achieve this, and I just don't subscribe to that. So I've always really considered myself a straight shooter. It might be my East Coast ways, and I like a
yeah,
few 4 letter words in there, but people don't pay me to be their friend. I'm not nice. I'm kind, but I'm not nice. I'm very straightforward with the people that work with me. People want the truth. It's always sitting right there in the corner, just waiting for us to see it. But
yeah.
we often are in a world that wants to explain away things or sell you something. And I don't care to take people's money. It's not why I'm doing this. Like you said, I made a lot of money. I was very successful. I'm being the coach I wish I had had. And I've had some great coaches, but the straight shooter who believes in people when they can't believe in themselves, who helps them figure out what's next, how to go after it. And the success component is also important because it's redefining what success is. The people I work with are very successful on paper, make a lot of money, have a big title, big house, maybe a big in ground pool like I once had, and it just doesn't fit. So it's redefining what that is.
When you think about like this whole idea of coaching, because one of the things I like how you said it there, because I find this too, because I think that's one of the reasons we connected well. It's like I'm the same way coaching. Like there's so much bullshit out there. Like, oh, because obviously I come from like the sales standpoint, but like 10x your leads and do all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, but that's like a small little script or template. What you really need is like the hard nose, like you're not doing this correctly. Like there's a way you could do this better. Or hey, have you considered? Right. And to your point, I've had the best coaches and mentors I've had have it's kind of like the tough love. It's like I give to my son. It's like he doesn't need a best friend. He needs a parent. He needs someone that could give him guidance. And that's not always the sugar coated way. You need to do it a little different way to get through to different people. And that's why I think different people need different things. It's not the same cookie cutter. Would you agree with that?
I would. And your son's lucky to have you. Tough love is very important. And
Yeah.
it isn't one size fits all. That's where I even tend to hesitate to over describe the people I serve because there's nuances. A lot of people I work with are in technology or they're in sales because it's my network, it's who I know. And they say you coach best where you were 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I was a very type A, high performing, always after the next thing and the next thing, and largely chasing the almighty dollar, which
Mm.
I love money. This is not, I'm not an antithesis to producing, excuse me, a lot of money. What I care about is that it fits for the overall framework of people's lives, and people are all unique. There's only one of you on this earth. So
Yeah.
trying to make sure I respond to that and not what I think you should be.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, I want to get in that a little more. We do have a tradition on the podcast with the rapid fire, so I do want to make sure we jump into this here because I'm excited to put you on the spot and get some of these here going.
Ready to
You'll
go.
do,
I'm only sweating moderately.
you'll
So.
you'll do fine. All right, here we go. Let's grab a good one. How do you know when it's time to quit versus push through? Wow, these are not planned.
Damn.
This is going to be good for our conversation. So, how do you know when it's time to quit versus push through?
Something that I didn't learn until the last few years is how to actually listen to myself. And I'm going to go into some detail about that because, God, I wish I had learned this years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But the first and foremost thing is we all have a gut. We all have an intuition, a soul, a sixth sense, whatever you want to call it, right? Everyone has a different kind of language for it. But when you feel out of alignment, you can actually feel that physically in your body if you allow yourself to. What most people don't allow themselves to do is feel their feelings. And I'm not going to get all woo-woo. I don't burn sage or anything like that. I'm not opposed to burning sage, just don't have any. But what it takes is actually connecting with the feeling part of you. We all know we have this animal-like brain that's looking to keep us safe and is, scanning the horizon for danger. We don't realize, though, how much of that we're ignoring. And so I think when you know how to quit or to start something new is you first and foremost have to actually feel what's going on. So I would say teaching yourself how to sit down, be quiet, and ask yourself, where's the pain? Because whenever something like this is happening, there's always pain. Pain is an incredible indicator of there needing to be attention. When you stub your toe, that pain is telling you, oh, I got to do something about that, right? So feeling if it's in the lower belly, if it's in your neck, if it's in your chest, if it's in your back, but actually feeling where's the pain and what does it feel like? We know what shame feels like. We know what disgust feels like, anger, fear, anxiety. We know these things, but we often ignore them and push them away to survive. So I would say going back to the fundamentals of get down into what you feel and then write about it. I'm a big proponent of actually taking a pen to paper and writing about it. And I actually just posted about this on LinkedIn. Not that anyone's following me on LinkedIn here, but people don't know how to journal, how to actually put a pen to paper and say, what's going on in my brain? And I'll write very clearly. I don't want to be writing right now. It's fucking 5:45 in the morning. I'm tired. I don't want to be doing this. I didn't sleep well, right? And I'll say, what's going on, Lauren? Why didn't you sleep well? And I'll have a conversation with myself as if I have no idea what's coming. And the crazy part is I often have no idea what is coming. You mentioned being a father, right? And having to do some of that tough love. You got to do the same thing with yourself. What's going on? Why are you not sleeping well? Well, because I hate my job. Why do you hate your job? Because my boss is an asshole. Well, what's going on with your boss? How do you see that? And have a dialogue, learning to have that inner dialogue. So doing those steps is really critical to get to the point of, okay, I don't think there's a way out of this one. I need to decide to do something different. So once you do the exercise to find out, wow, I'm in a really rough place and I think it might be time to quit. How do you fundamentally know? You listen to yourself. You honor that part of you that says, okay, I've put in the work. I've done the reps, right? I know that I've done everything I can and it doesn't fit anymore. I'm so out of alignment. This just doesn't work. I can't go to that job anymore. I can't see myself 10 years from now in the same place. So I think learning how to have a conversation and then being willing to accept it, not as if it's not a failure, it's just a change. Something silly, but I'm from the East Coast. I love seafood. I eat oysters like they're like going out of style. I love them. I used to love scallops. I hate scallops now. I don't know why. My taste changed. But do I go, oh my God, I'm such a failure because I hate scallops? No, it's just a change. It could be as simple as that. This job doesn't fit anymore because I have different interests. We're not static beings. So honoring that we are not static is really critical. And the last thing I'll say about this is one of the most detrimental things to us is our need to be consistent. If I'm the person who's always the last one at the bar, it's going to be really hard when I decide I'm going to have a sober October, right? Because it doesn't align with who my identity is. If I'm the highest performer who's always earning the most and crushing it, and if I have this identity of I'm always doing this, it's going to be really hard when I decide I hate sales and I don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
If I'm the athlete, it's going to be really hard when I get injured and I can't work out anymore because mentally I'm the athlete who gets up and goes hard and does this thing every day. Our need to be consistent can sometimes stifle the real truth that's, like I said, sitting right there, just waiting for us to see it. So I think if we can decide that it's okay to let ourselves out of this box and wonder who we are today and have a conversation, then we can decide it's time to quit.
Hmm. All right, that's a great start to rapid fire, Lauren. I mean, you hit a home run there. So let's keep this.
I will try
Let's
not to
keep this
disappoint.
momentum. Okay. What's the mental checklist you run through before saying yes to something?
Okay. Well, there's some overlap here. I'm a really enthusiastic person. When someone says like, Lauren, let's go to Cabo, I'm like, hell yeah. I immediately start looking for flights. So I tend to be kind of a yes man. That's not everybody. What the best thing I could ever do is enjoy that moment. It's fun to say yes to things. It is really fun to get excited and have that energy. But then there's the gut check. Like I said, I might be saying yes because deep down, I'm like a college frat boy and I want to have a great time in Cabo. But what I actually want is not that. There might be a deeper want. So it's okay to enjoy that moment, but then it's really a great exercise to say, I got to take a minute and think about this. This sounds great. If someone's inviting you to something,
Right.
Or if you're like, oh man, I think I want to start a company, but let me just take a minute. So one of my favorite exercises I love to do when I'm presented with a kind of threshold moment, I believe there's always 9 options. There's 9 is an arbitrary number, but just hang on for a second. It'll make sense.
All right.
But so whenever I'm on a threshold moment of either saying yes to a new thing or an invitation or considering something, I'll actually take a whiteboard. I'm so old school. I love the again, hand to paper or to a whiteboard. And I'll write all the options that could be. I could say yes to going to Cabo. I could say no and do something else. I could propose we go to a different place. We decide, oh, we want to go to Cabo, but not with those weirdos, right? And I'll write every option out and then I'll stand back and I'll actually circle the option that stands out to me or multiple options. And I will cross out all the ones that don't suit me at all. It is how I actually decided to sell our house and tour around America. I wrote all the options out before saying yes to living out of Airbnbs and sleeping in strangers' beds for almost a year. The best option always stands out, and the worst ones, which you should put up there, they're kind of fun too. You can just easily cross out, and then you actually contain the problem to a single physical space.
Yeah.
You see the most obvious one because it shines bright in comparison to the crazy ones like I had, like living out of a van. Not crazy. Some people do it. It's just not for me. But I find that that's a really great exercise before I really say yes to something is I have to know I've said no to other things, that I've taken a beat and that I've actually contained it to its little safe box so that I don't because I would say yes to almost everything, and it's not always a bad thing to say yes to things, but it has to really make sense to who you are today. Again, being aware that I want to be consistent with who I've been.
Well, another thing that does, because I really love that list, is it allows you to peek around the corners a little bit of like, again, I'm going to sell my house. Great. But then what? Like, I'm going to sell my house and do this, or we're not going to sell it and we're going to move this neighborhood. Like, who knows? But it does allow you to peek around the corners. Not that you know exactly what's going to happen, but you can almost like you're playing alternatives in your head of what could happen. And to your point, how does it feel? And if it doesn't feel good while you're thinking about it and dreaming about it right there in the moment, it's probably not the right choice anyways.
Yeah, I think we tend to discount feelings. And again, I know they sometimes get a bad rap and it can come across as being a little bit like, again, a little woo woo. But if we actually allow ourselves to feel, we have this incredible, incredible intuition about things. Like, I know that's the right decision. It makes no sense. And I've made a lot of those. That doesn't make sense on paper, but it feels right. And my life keeps getting better the more I honor that. And the thing is, even if you make the quote unquote wrong decision, let's say you say yes to something and you find out that was a stupid idea. It wasn't the worst idea. You said yes to something and you trusted that it was the right decision at the right time. And you learn from getting to the other side going, wow, I'm really capable. I did that thing. Ultimately, we rarely go, man, I should never have done that. Honestly, the way that happens, we don't honor our gut. It's like, man, I had a bad feeling about that. But when we had a good feeling, we made the decision, it turns out not to be great. We typically go, that wasn't that wasn't awesome, but I learned this thing, or I met this person, or I tried something. You know what? I learned, and I'm going to move forward. And you learn also you can handle a lot. So I think it's when we go against that gut feeling that it really backfires on us.
Yeah. All right. Let's get a good one here. Man. All right. Let's see how you answer this one, Lauren. How do you talk to yourself when things are going poorly?
Ooh. All right. Well, candidly, I'm really mean to me. So this is something that I've struggled with since I can remember, but I've always been really really tough on me. And I think a lot of the best people have struggled with this. And I say best people as in the highest achievers, the ones who've done a lot because they keep competing with themselves. They're not on a competitive plane with others. They're on a competitive plane with themselves. When I'm really really disappointed in me, I go to the worst possible thought, which is, what are you doing on this earth? You have such a
Mm.
precious little amount of time. What are you doing wasting it? And that was the place I got to in 2023, where this is right before I decided that the life I was living just didn't fit anymore. I was so just frankly disgusted with myself. And that's a powerful word, excuse me, but that's the one I'm going to pick is disgust. I I could not believe how successful I was on paper, making over $500,000. I had what I thought I wanted, the big house, the in-ground pool, the German engineered cars. I still have
Mhm.
the German engineered cars. I still like those. Um but I had everything, and I felt so misaligned, and so I was really really upset with myself, and I felt like it just my life was just no more than a paycheck. Really candidly, that was the place I got to. And I know that when I say this, this isn't that unique. A lot of people trade their time for a paycheck, and then sometimes the sad result is we trade our life for our paycheck instead of feeling really proud of how we're spending our time.
Mhm.
In antithesis to that thought, though, I have learned something really valuable in the last couple of years, which is that you have to fill your own cup before you expect anyone else to fill it. And I've heard this time and time again, but I never really understood what that meant. And recognizing that I am enough and that I have enough first and foremost before I look to anything else or anyone else to make me feel whole is critical. And I've developed a practice where I start saying that first thing in the morning. I say it throughout the day. I am enough. I have enough.
Mm.
If you put your hand on your heart, you can actually rewire your neurocircuits. It's just physically touching your heart, gets your brain and your body engaged. But I have found that that is the antithesis to all the other thoughts of unworthiness. I'm not enough. I don't have enough. I'm not doing enough. When I lay my head on my pillow at night, if I can say I've done enough today, I made my corner of the world better, I served a lot of people powerfully, I showed up energetically, I feel dignified in my work, then I have no more of those thoughts. But I have to first know deep down that I am enough and I have enough, and I'm doing the best I can on this earth with what time I have.
Mm. I like that, man. I'm right there with you. I beat myself up so much, and it's like when you kind of tell yourself like, "I love you, dude. Like you're doing good, man. Don't you know?" It's amazing actually how that reframe really is beneficial in the long run because you start to like put that. It's almost like a pattern interrupt when you're used to like you suck. It's like, hey, I'm proud of you. It's almost like your brain's like, oh,
Absolutely.
whoa, whoa, what's this?
Oh, absolutely. You're actually, when you
Yeah.
do that, it's like you're speaking. This is what I mean. It's kind of freaky. My journal looks like I've got multiple personalities going on because I talk to myself as if it's two different people. I'm
Mhm.
asking a question of Lauren, but what does Lauren really say? It's not that there are two of me. It's just that I haven't heard again, those voices. And often it's the pattern of behavior I've developed. If my pattern of behavior is to wail on me, like, Lauren, what the fuck are you doing? You need to do more. You should be doing more. You didn't do enough. That's not good enough. You're not good enough. That's the pattern I've learned. But the one that I can create, I can actually design of my own. And it's like I've heard it as you actually are re-raising yourself. You know, if you
Mm.
if you look at it, you're a great father to your son. you're actually, when you talk to yourself the way you talk to your son, it's like you're reparenting yourself. And that's probably what's made you very successful, Brian, is because in a lot of ways you are your worst critic. You do
Yeah.
push yourself really hard, but there has to be that balance of, you, just like you want your son to do the best he can, you also, you want him to know he's loved and he's enough and he's worthy, and he doesn't have to be or do to be enough and to be worthy of this life here.
Right. Yeah, I think I was very heavy-handed with myself all throughout my childhood. Up there, like you suck. You're not good enough to do this. I mean, I think it's why I took so long to get started. You know, so
Yeah.
I think changing that, and a lot of that, through to your point, was through journaling. A lot of that was through journaling, a lot reading books and those type of things. So I do think it's important for people to lean into that more, instead of shying away and saying, let me just put the distraction in my ear and go for a walk without anything in your ear. See what happens over that 20-minute period. Just even that alone helps you down that path. So
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, I'm glad you've learned, especially in recent years, how to be very kind to yourself, and you still have been a knockout success in spite of that.
I appreciate that. All right. Speaking of books, what's a book that genuinely changed your perspective?
Well, I have it sitting right here actually. I read it every day. I once, and I'll tell you, I have three books that have absolutely changed my whole life. And I want to say this before I tell you what books they are, is that I never used to reread books until the last few years, because I'm a, just like I'm type A and a big achiever and other things. I love, nothing gives me more of a dopamine rush than adding a book to my Goodreads list. Like, ooh, another box checked. I did this. I read
Right.
58 books this year, right?
Right.
But I have learned that rereading books is not about what you'll discover in the book because you've already read it. It's what you discover about the person, yourself reading it. And
Hmm.
I have noticed how different I've become going over the words of a book that I've read now 5 times. So Wallace Wattles was a writer. He's a goofy name, but I love it. Wallace Wattles was the writer, though, that I've reread now multiple times. He wrote in the early 20th century, and he has three books that are all in one. It's The Science of Being Well, which is about your health,
Hmm.
The Science of Getting Rich, and The Science of Being Great, which is being someone of moral uprightness. It's a weird read, but these three books have absolutely changed my whole perspective on life. Is that he believes in a divine power. He believes in God. He believes that it is your God given duty to be the best version of yourself, which includes making yourself the most morally upright. What he calls morally upright would be wisdom, knowing what to do, what's the right decision,
Hmm.
taking the best care of your body and having physical health so you can have energy. And then, thirdly, making the most amount of money that you're capable of making because of what you can do with that money. So, this was a powerful reframe for me because of someone who comes from a place of unworthiness, having it right first and foremost in my face that it is my job to do the best I can on this earth and to take great care of me too along the way. It is easy to do great things and sacrifice yourself along the way. It's the classic put your oxygen mask on first before assisting others. This book really
Right.
puts it in your face. Put your oxygen mask on and do it in a big way and in multiple ways.
Hmm.
Another book, if you don't mind my sharing, that changed my
Yeah.
whole life was The Richest Man in Babylon. Another classic from 1929 by George Clason. He wrote it the year that the economy went to total dog shit, and the story is of the poorest man in Babylon goes to the richest man and asks him, how do you become rich? And it's the story of how no matter what your economic status is, no matter where you
Mhm.
come from, you can learn how to save and make money, but on a deeper level, how to find wealth. And wealth is largely a belief system around who you are in the world and what you create. So, those two books, among many others, if I turned my camera here, you would see the hundreds of books that I have not read yet. And I have a large stack, but I do go over the same books every single morning. I read a chapter from one and I reread. And again, it's about discovering who I've
Yeah.
become, not just what's in the text.
I like those. Those are good. I haven't heard those before, so those are good to add to my list, which is nice. So, all right, last one here coming. Let's see what we got. Okay, this may be journaling, so I might even ask another one after this, but let's see. Do you have any routines you follow consistently?
Yeah, I do. I the greatest routine of my life is my morning routine. I have yet to figure out a way to make it better. But I get up every morning and I go downstairs and the coffee is already made. That's a critical component. I love the auto drip feature has changed my whole life because when I wake up in the morning, I don't have to bumble around with my eyes half open. I've poured so many coffee grounds on the floor and I've missed the opening trying to pour water in. But the coffee goes off at 5 a.m. and I'm up shortly thereafter. And I feel like it's a little gift. It's almost as if I didn't do it. And sometimes my husband does it, so Peter can get credit for it. But somebody else, it's like some fairy made coffee for us in the night.
Right.
And then I sit down and I read one of those books. And I rotate. I typically have 3 to 4 books. So Wallace Waddles is always there. And then I have right now another 2 books that are sitting on my table that I read. And I go, what I look for is patterns. So I'm a big pattern recognition person. I like seeing that what Wallace Waddles said in 1920 is the same thing that Jen Sincero said in You're a Badass that she wrote 11 years ago. And that many others that I'm reading are saying similar things. I look for patterns and then I journal. So I'll read something and it gives me something to chew on and then I get to work. I start writing like a madman. And the last and the most important part of my morning is I every morning have coffee with Peter. We will, after we're done reading our books and writing or meditating or praying or whatever we do in the mornings, then we talk for about an hour. And every morning of our life, we do that. If we have to get up super early so that's not missed, if we have to hold off on other commitments, we will absolutely. But everything else after 7:30 in the morning is not for me. It's for everybody else. But that morning is precious, and then that window with Peter is critical. It's how we've been together for 17 years.
Wow, I absolutely love that, and I love the fact that it's selfishly people would say, but it's about you. It's like, yeah, because the emails fly in quick, right? There's another newsletter to read. LinkedIn's going to have their freaking updates if you go on there. So I like that. It's just like, I'm the same way. It's like, because I got in a pattern a while ago where it's like, yeah, it's always, I'm getting up, I'm right on email or work. And you have to take a step back. I'm like, hold on a second. Am I ready to start the day?
Yeah.
And a lot of times the answer is no. So it's good to put yourself first there.
Yeah. Well, and it feels like I said, it's like the oxygen mask. I know if I don't do that, I cannot show up as energetically, as joyfully, as purposefully, as fulfilled as I do if my cup is empty and then I'm waiting. And that's the other thing is it's like you said, am I choosing to do this? I feel my morning is a deliberate choice I make to do that before anybody else gets to choose to call me, email me, text me. And I know that there's always more that can be baked in. I read Atomic Habits, which a lot of people love a couple of years ago. What's been great is I've been stacking, right? The automatic drip started and I would get up like a zombie and just sit there and cradle my coffee. That's how this all began. I think 7.5 years ago, I started just getting up like a zombie with the auto drip. And then I started reading and then I started writing and it's just been big. So I have started to slowly tack on new, better habits over time because of that automatic coffee drip. That's why I didn't want to forget to give kudos where kudos is due. But it is hard to get up and immediately, like for me, I couldn't imagine getting up and immediately getting on my phone and starting. I used to do this, but starting to absorb information from other people before I start really deliberately, consuming what I want to consume. And that's why I read shit from people who've been dead a long time is that if it stood the test of time, to me, that's a good sign. And I know, like I said, that pattern recognition is really important to me. So Socrates has been saying this shit for 2,000 years before Christ. Like I'm excited that I found it in something that was written last year.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll underscore is the sitting with your husband, because I think that's something I've tried to do with my wife. We used to do a lot. It's tougher sometimes because she goes into her job a couple days a week. So there's not always that. So it's more precious when we get to, but at least a few times a week minimum, it's the same thing. It's like we're sitting and talking, even if we're just sitting there and just kind of enjoying the morning. And I think so many people, when they look at their relationships and they wonder why they go to shit, it's because they don't spend time with one another. And that's such an easy win to spend some time together. I like the morning. It's quieter. Maybe if you have kids, the kids might not be up yet. So I think there's a great opportunity there to do that. And it's something, whether you journal or read books or all that, if you had to put anything in, like, I bet that's probably maybe the most important part of that. Would you agree?
I would again say that I have to make sure I'm the person that I want to be to him for myself first. So again, I go just one step back. I have to make sure that I am who I need to be and my cup is full, because then I wouldn't be the best wife I could be if I didn't take care of the person I need to be. And
Mm,
so I think it is, I mean, Peter's the singular most important thing in my life. So I know, though, to be great to him and to have the marriage we want to have, I really need to make sure I take good care of the person I am. And again, it's they say that you can never love someone more than you love yourself. I think it just means the capacity grows, so that you have, if you can have the capacity, if you can receive, then you can really give. And so I have to be able to receive
right.
love and support and validation and guidance from myself. And then, yeah, but no, that is the most, if I look at it, I mean, I feel like that's, I know when I reflect on the day, if Peter and I missed any window, which is very rare, it knocks the whole day off kilter. You spend the rest of your day kind of pining for time with each other, and it's not always great time because you get to the end of the day and your brain's fried and stuff. So
Yeah.
and then you just want to maybe throw the tube on and chill or whatever it is, and we're in, and then that's important too. You're entitled to have some downtime from people's energy. So I
Yeah.
love that the first person's energy I'm around though is his.
Yeah. I want to go back to something you said earlier about the disgust, and it kind of ties in with, a lot of through lines of our conversation already is kind of like leaning into, how you feel and your gut and all this. You mentioned that was 2023. You specifically said 2023, but my question is, did you feel disgust multiple times before like like before the tidal wave came, were there like these small, like, you know, surfers would love that type of wave? It wasn't big enough to knock out the whole town, but it was good. Like, can you share a little bit about that, of
Yeah.
how that disgust came about to the tidal wave approach that it did in the 2023?
Yeah, of course. And I agree. I mean, I don't think these big threshold moments are the accumulation of little thresholds that you had to cross over.
Hmm.
And I agree. So all of these things, absolutely, they culminated in 23. But yeah, and I would say that in 2020, a lot of our lives changed. And I can't ignore how much that impacted my life, from going from meeting people in person and being out there every single day, driving all over. I live in the Twin Cities now, and I did then as well. Um, to go to being 100% remote, meeting people on a screen in their
Yeah.
homes, which is amazing. The depths of the conversations I started having with people could only take place, I believe, because they were happening in the confines of our homes as opposed to a Starbucks coffee shop or a conference room. We could really talk about how they were feeling or what was going on or the relationship
Hmm.
to work. So I believe a lot of that was the catalyst for me becoming who I am today and the capacity of work that I do. So the disgust I felt, though, I, without airing dirty laundry, I was never, I don't think, put on this earth to have a great boss. I was I have been given all the challenges I was supposed to be given so that I could become who I'm supposed to become. And it doesn't mean I didn't long for a great mentor and a leader and someone to believe in me. But, Brian, as we've talked about, having to learn how to care for and support and show up for yourself in a big way is a lesson I will take with me for life. So, in a sense, in a very big sense, I am extremely grateful for the experience I had. But I recognize I'm not very unique. A lot of people, this is a very unique bit of shame, I will say. All of us have experienced shame since we were kids. But when you make a lot of money, and this is the position I found myself in, back in 22 in particular, that you asked where the beginning of the disgust came
Yeah.
from. The more money you make, the less people are sympathetic if you don't love what you do. In a lot of ways, it's, what do you have to complain about? You should be so lucky. Like, we
Right.
would kill to make 400,000 or more a year. Are you kidding me? Right. And I'm not saying I wasn't, it didn't mean that I wasn't grateful. I believe sincerely you can be grateful and also want for different or more of something else. But at the time, I felt I had to keep my trap shut. And that's a dangerous place to get to where you don't feel you can share your pain and get help when you feel that way. And so I I like many others and the people that I want to help and I do help now got to a certain place where you couldn't tell anybody you were unhappy because you built a whole life around the money you were making. You
Right.
bought a house, you took the trips, you made the investments, you set yourself up to be consistent with that person. Again, that need to be consistent with that person who's bringing in 40 or 50,000 a month. You build a lifestyle around it. And I don't mean to say that we were living outside of our means. I know that happens with individuals, and we've had that experience as well. But I mean that you say, okay, I'm working towards the second house. I know I want to live on Nantucket one day. Like, you build this whole plan for the
Hmm.
life that you are currently living, and that's that start of that misalignment. So in 22, my experience started to decline, and yet my need to stay consistent and to stay in that role and keep earning and keep churning and burning kept me very quiet and started to erode me from the inside out into a place where I got to where I just sitting in that morning coffee, and thank God for those coffees. It was already baked into our experience, Peter and I, to be very candid with each other, to have almost a
Hmm.
radical honesty that would probably be a bit frightening to some people, but I could get to a place where I could be really honest with him. When I say I couldn't tell anybody, I mean my girlfriends. You can't have cocktails and bitch about making a lot of money necessarily, or that you're so deeply unhappy. And there's, again, it's like, why don't you just get another job? And it's like, well, I can't tell them, well, I can't just get another job, because as you know, Brian, in sales, it's like you leave and you got to start all over again. The
Right.
funny thing is, and this is the irony of my story, is that in 23 I did leave, and my money ended right there. That day, that hour, it was over. So the thing I'd been so afraid of, going without, starting over, is exactly what I ended up running head towards. And because I know what the alternative would be. I know that if I had kept quiet and kept my mouth shut and just stayed, and I'd be like the horse in Animal Farm. I don't know if you've ever read Animal Farm, but man, that scene when the horse gets sent
No,
to the
not
fucking
yet.
glue factory. Okay, well, I I hate to spoil it, but there's a horse I really identified with in Animal Farm that works himself literally to the bone, and then the pigs who are running the farm load him up in a trailer, and he thinks he's going to a happy place, and when they close the back of the trailer, it says the glue factory, and all the animals gasp because they know he's going to be to the slaughterhouse. He worked himself to death. I'm that horse. I would absolutely allow myself to go to the slaughterhouse. So
Right.
I think that that's, so no, the disgust wasn't a singular moment. It was accumulation of things. But thanks to thanks to my incredibly supportive husband, and to finally facing my worst fear, which was that I was going to walk away from what I had known. And what was wild is my life has never been better. Not without struggle, but I don't feel like I'm swimming upstream anymore. I'm going with the current, but even when you go with the current, you got to keep your head above water. You got to look out for rocks. It's a lot of work,
Yeah.
but you're not fighting up a current.
So I want to kind of transition slightly to think about, like, so someone listening in, right? They're that high earner like you were. They're at the high paying job, and everyone's situation is so different. Their financial situation, do they have kids or not? What city they live in? So we'll make some assumptions. We can make some generalizations maybe, but here's my question. When someone comes to you, what are the reasons, and these are probably excuses they're sharing, but what are the reasons they're not willing to leave their job? What are they saying to you? Because I'm assuming these are thoughts going through the audience members thinking about why they are or are not leaving.
Yeah, they have perfectly justifiable reasons. They're the bread Oftentimes they're the breadwinner. They carry the load of the earnings for the family. They couldn't imagine not making what they're making. They've built, again, a life around that dollar amount. So some people are strapped for cash despite making over $1 million a year. They've extended themselves very thin.
Hmm.
The other thing is, and I think bigger than all that, they have no idea what to do other than what they've done, because they've never stopped to ask themselves this. So I am not advocating for everyone to quit their job and go start their own business or live in a van down by the river eating government cheese. I'm advocating for people to figure out what it is they want and build towards it. And that could mean keeping the job and building something on the side that they're proud of. It could be getting their health back on track and investing time and effort into getting
Mm.
their energy to a good place, their health to a good place. It could mean spending more time with people who actually love and support them and don't make them feel like shit or use them, or it could be investing in, and this is really what coaching is, but it could be just as simple as investing in daily rituals that have never been a part of their experience, so they don't know what it's like to work on themselves. First and foremost, I would say that people will spend 45 minutes in an Orange Theory class, but they won't spend 5 minutes working on themselves. And that's just consistently what I see, working on themselves for their inner personhood. So they'll work on their bodies, they'll work towards making more money at their job, but actually working on how to communicate, that dialogue we were talking about.
Mhm.
That's a skill that can be learned. And the other thing is, we don't exist in a vacuum on this earth. So the biggest and most I think, outside of, and I would say the number one thing is not spending time working on having a conversation with themselves. Second thing is learning how to be in communion with other people in a way that's truly significant. So not networking to get something, networking to really give something, to show up for that person energetically, to ask good questions, to show
Mhm.
up with, like you do. I mean, I've told you this, the reason why I think you talked to me in the first place, I told you you're an incredible podcast host because you don't over contextualize, you're relatable, you will share your own stories, but you're very, you make the person, and myself included, feel extremely
Thank you.
significant and heard. And I believe that is what a lot of us have lost, is that art of spending time with people and showing up with energy and
Right.
curiosity, learning what else is possible, what other, like, again, if people come back to me and they say, Lauren, I have no idea what else to do. Have you asked? Do you know what else is possible? We need
Right.
social proof. So in order for me to do a lot of hard things, be it, throw an Olympic lift and try for a number I've never done, or quit my job and start a company, or sell my house and become a nomad, I had to see some proof that it's possible. If I can see it, then I can do it. But if
Right.
people aren't spending time asking themselves what they want and discovering a misalignment first and foremost, and then secondarily actually getting in conversation with people and investing time and effort into that,
Right.
they're not going to know what else is possible. They're not looking for other things. So
Yeah.
the excuses people give are very valid. They don't know, and they're carrying a shit ton of weight. But that's where I'm not going to bullshit them. They've never put the time in. They've never asked the questions of themselves or of others. They've never sought to learn another path. And so they won't know. Of course not. They're going to stay right where they are. You keep banging your head against the wall, it's going to continue to hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, and you made a comment there that was really, I want to kind of underscore this about like your day, like what you use the orange theory, kind of like sitting with yourself, but going there. And some people don't even do that because they're so like, "Ah, fuck, I don't want to go to this job." So they lay in bed until the last possible moment. They get up, they go grind through the job, then they get home and they're so struck with energy and being pissed off, they'll go sit and drown it in TikTok or whatever. And it's this constant
Yeah.
cycle. And I think I mean, again, because something I went through was like, so I can relate to this, is like, you have to just make small incremental changes. Like maybe it is, hey, I'm going to go try to hang out with a friend this week, or I'm going to, hey, you know what? I typically watch 3 hours of Netflix at night. Fine, watch it, but maybe watch 2 to 2.5 hours and take some time to, again, as you said, let's see what else is out there. Maybe it's reading a book. Maybe it's taking a course. Maybe it's searching, like, what would this job entail, or how do I make this transition? And I think there's the incremental steps. You do that for 15, 30 minutes a day over the course of a year, it's monumental what you can do with your life. And I think most people are unwilling to, we talked about consistency earlier in the conversation. Most people are unwilling to have that consistency. So that's at least what I see from my perspective.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. I think it can overwhelm people, like the 15 minutes of doing something different. Why would they bother? See, to your point, they're low energy. They feel like their life doesn't really matter that much. They're trading their time for a paycheck. You have to first figure out, and this is where I've spent a lot of time and effort and money investing in my own coaching. I
Mhm.
believe in coaching, and I'm happy to talk to about the distinction between coaching and therapy. That's a big question I often get. But I am not my best friend all the time. I'm not my best ally. I cannot help myself at times. And so I will pay for the accountability, the kick in the ass, again, that tough love. I
Mm.
have spent thousands of dollars with personal trainers alone just on my physical fitness so that I show up and I do the pull-ups, I do the sit-ups. Do you think I know how to do pull-ups and sit-ups at home? Fuck yeah, I do. Do I want to do them? No. And I'll find any reason not to. But if I invest money in my own health or my wealth or my well-being overall, I take it very seriously. And I think people believe they have to do everything on their own. Again, these people I'm talking to are running companies. They're
Right.
making a lot of great decisions. They're doing a lot of really, really smart, tough, very well respected work, but they put themselves last. They don't think that they should be putting themselves first.
Right.
And then the second thing is they think they got to do it all on their own because they're so used to flying up here. They're flying at the top. Who the hell else is going above them? Who's mentoring them? Who's supporting them?
Right.
That's where I have always found I will hire people are better at shit than I'm not even good at painting my nails. This is hard stuff. I pay people to paint my nails, cut my hair, and and a lot of people do. We pay people all the time for support and doing things that we don't want to do or we're not good at or we don't hold ourselves accountable. And so that's where I decided to shift into this space because I saw that I had hired business coaches, life coaches, personal trainers, financial advisors. I've hired experts to guide me constantly. It's never been a mistake. Even if the coach, and I've had some shit coaches, I'm gonna be honest, I've had some shit coaches. They're a dime a dozen. We said at the beginning. Um, but it really did. I invested in it and I showed up and I took it seriously and I carved out that time and I saw the value in it. Well, we get a lot of free stuff nowadays, and how often do we take it seriously? We get a lot of free shit out there, and we
Yeah.
don't show up energetically aligned or like, okay, I've really invested in this. So I think people feel they have to do it alone. They don't even know what 15 minutes matters because again, they're like sitting in this low energy, I
Mhm.
don't matter, this fucking sucks state. I'd rather just tune out. I want to tune out. And a big part is you have to wake up and go, I'm worth it. I have so much to give and I have so little time to give it. And I don't mean to wax morbid, but we do. We have a finite, not only amount of time on this earth, but we
Yeah.
have a finite amount of energy and stamina. And our knees aren't going to cooperate one day. Our hips are, we're not going to be able to do some of this shit. So it's precious time. And a lot of us don't believe we're worth it. And so we squander it.
Yeah. All right. So someone's listening in. They're like, all right, what is step one, Lauren? I don't need step seven. Step one today. What actionable item can they do today to get started on the path? I don't know how long it's going to take, but what's the step they can take to get started?
I think allow yourself to feel the disgust. Um, I would say give yourself permission to feel exactly where you're at and know that that's not where you have to live, but you have to know that okay, the I've had enough moment is critical. You have to say I've had enough. And then the second thing I would tack onto that is that you have to decide you're worth it. That this life matters enough, that you matter enough to do
Mm,
something about it.
love that. And that's pretty much, I mean, the easiest thing is to your, what you mentioned earlier is like, just just sit for a few minutes, take a pen and paper, jot this down, ask yourself some questions. Don't overcomplicate it. Right.
Yeah, we always know. That's the thing is that that's why I can't stand the whole 5 steps to do this. I'll help you 10x your right. I am never saying anything that most people haven't already in some capacity heard. I'm not Jesus Christ here, and I'm certainly not Socrates. What I am doing is I am teaching people and I'm guiding people on how to listen and honor themselves and how to
Mm-hmm.
pull that out of themselves. So that's exactly what I would do is I would encourage people to learn how to do that for themselves and if they can't to get some help and not worry about it. That's why athletes have coaches, actors have coaches. There's even coaches for voice acting because
Yeah.
that's a critical component to an actor knocking it out of the park. There's coaches and guides for everything and they're not one size fits all. They're all different. You got to find the right person for you, but first you got to start decide you're going to put your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah. Well, if someone wants to discover you more, find you more, what are you? LinkedIn's pretty much, or you got your website up? What's going? Where's the
Yeah,
best
so
place?
I have a website, coupelo.io, and then I'm on LinkedIn every day, and there's a Calendly link if people want to book an hour-long discovery call with me, which would be it would give them the chance to experience coaching, and that's the only way. To be honest with you, there's only one way to experience coaching. You gotta get in the room, you gotta get in the conversation, and uh, you have to experience what it's like to be asked questions you may have never been asked before, and to
Hmm.
have somebody who holds you accountable to the things that you've decided you're worth. So yeah, if people want to hang out with me, I'm on LinkedIn. I would love to have really great conversations with people so they could experience it. And then the other thing is I'm always down to give a great book recommendation, or whatever my LinkedIn post that I do every week, hopefully offer inspiration and a little bit of a been there, done that, and you can do it. I would never be a great coach if I didn't believe everyone was capable. That doesn't mean that you can do everything that you might want to do. I'll never play for the NBA. I'm not a man, and I'm 5'3", and I don't
Yeah.
like basketball. So it has to be connected to reality. But I believe everyone is capable of changing their life and having the life that they feel very aligned to. That's why we're here.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Lauren, I've appreciated our relationship over the last year. I'm excited to finally get you on here, and thanks so much. I appreciate this.
Yeah, Brian, thank you. Like I said, and I'll say it for a third and never the last time. Uh, you are a great podcast host, but you're an even greater person, and you've magnetized so many wonderful people into your orbit. I'm grateful to be one of those people.